Perfect. I didn't think I was going to need a gavel, but I guess maybe next time I will. Next time I will bring a gavel, I think, to get order. Welcome everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials, and our streaming audience. Welcome to the January 22, 2024 City Council meeting. We have one item on the agenda this evening and some other issues to discuss. We're meeting at the city building located at 26 South Paint Street. And I would now ask the clerk to call the roll.
Bennett,
Here.
Payne, Nickerson, Barnes, McKeever,
Here.
Dement,
Here.
Henderson,
Here.
Prohl,
Here.
Creed.
Here.
Is there a motion to excuse Ms. Payne from tonight's meeting? Motion by Ms. Bennett. Is there a second? Dr. Henderson? Please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Nickerson, Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Motion passes and Ms. Payne is excused. Is there a motion to excuse Ms. Dickerson? Motion by Mr. Prohl. Second by Mr. Dement. Please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Motion passes and Ms. Nickerson is excused from this meeting. I would now ask Mr. Prohl to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. The minutes from the previous meeting have been distributed for review. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to accept the minutes. Ms. Bennett? Is there a second? Dr. Henderson? Call the roll, please.
Bennett,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
At this point, we would move on to reports of committees, and I know we're early in the year and that only a few of the committees have had an opportunity to meet, but I'll go ahead and call each one, and if the chairperson can just let me know whether they've had an opportunity to have a meeting and what took place, then we'll go from there. First is Development Committee, Mr. Dement.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Economic Development has nothing to report.
Thank you. Engineering Committee, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Again, the engineering department does not have anything to report.
Finance and Technology Committee, Mr. Prohl.
Finance Committee does not have any items on tonight's agenda. However, we did meet prior to council at 6:30, and we discussed 3 items. Item 2401, item 2402, and item 2403. These all dealt with carry forward monies and projects that all had been previously approved but needed to be placed on the agenda in the new year. So all 3 were recommended by the committee to move on to the law director, and we should see them on a future agenda. I do also want to address Mrs. Nickerson's committee. She had informed me that she was ill and asked me to ask that we please waive the 3-read rule on tonight's agenda item. So at the appropriate time, I will be asking for that. The backstory on this was that this item is the only item on the agenda tonight, and it is the rezoning of Rennick. This is a process that started back in October and through the Planning Commission, and there was a public hearing, and so far there has been nobody contesting it or any conflict with it. So we would like to ask at the appropriate time to waive the 3-read rule so this can get put into motion. And that is all for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Prohl. Ms. Payne's not here. Is there anyone from the Human Resources Committee that has anything to report?
I have not been in any contact with Ms. Nickerson or Ms. Payne, so I have nothing to report on their behalf.
Thank you. Parks and Rec Committee, Dr. Henderson.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Parks, Rec, and Tourism has no items on tonight's agenda. A couple quick announcements. Pickleball is currently ongoing at the Armory for open gym on Tuesdays. Some very exciting news. There will be 5 names added to the World War II Memorial in the Veterans Park. These are 5 names that they lived kind of out in the county, so they weren't necessarily recognized initially, but they were found recently, and they were voted on and passed to be added on to the memorial. And then we have upcoming Walk for Awareness for the Ross County Board DD, and the Leprechaun Chase. Those are both going to be in March 1st and March 9th, respectively. And that is all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Next, Safety and Service Committee, Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have nothing on the agenda tonight, and we have nothing to report from our committee.
Thank you. Utilities Committee, Mr. McKeever.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have nothing on the agenda tonight and nothing to report at this time.
We've already had the City Services Committee with Ms. Nickerson, with Mr. Prohl handling those issues. So we'll move on to Community Affairs Committee, Ms. Bennett.
President Shoemaker, we don't have anything to report or anything on the agenda this evening.
Thank you. That concludes the committee reports. Next, we have reports of city officials, and it looks like the auditor is up since I don't see anyone else available this evening.
I do not have any items on the agenda, but as Councilman Prohl said, we did a meeting at 6:30 to discuss carry forward projects and carry forward POs. So hopefully it'll be on the next agenda. So that way, those are items that were approved in last year's budget that had not gotten paid by year end. So they were already approved by the prior council. So those items are waiting to be paid. So we will get that taken care of. And I wanted to introduce Lauren Baker. She's sitting there. She can wave. She is new in the auditor's income tax office. She is my auditor's clerk. So she will be doing a little bit of income tax and a little bit of auditing. And then just an update. We are in the middle of closing the month of December. We're almost got those closed. In the past, I have waited for the bank recs and for everything to be finalized before I send those out. But I'm going to start sending those out as soon as we close the books. And then if there's adjustments that need to be made later, we can revise those and send those out. That way it can be a little bit more timely for everybody to look at rather than waiting for the final numbers. Usually they're pretty close. Any changes are usually like less than $1,000. It's very minimal if there would be a change. So I will go ahead and start sending those out as soon as we get closed. We usually try to be closed within 10 days of the month. December, of course, takes a little bit longer because you got a ton of year-end stuff to take care of as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Auditor Spednagel? Hearing none, we move on to audience participation. Any person wishing to address council may do so, but must first provide his or her name and address. Comments shall be generally limited to 5 minutes, and I'll keep the time and give you notice when you have 1 minute remaining. Thank you. I have some discretion, but you know, some others may not be as patient as I am. But go ahead.
Well, I was hoping people would hear me because that's making a funny buzzing noise tonight. Melody Hatfield, 355 Brennan Road, Chiillicothe, Ohio, and I have a handout. Was there enough? Oh. Okay. When I've been here before, I've been talking about the Chiillicothe Ross Military Tribute Museum, and then it occurred to me that if we sit there and we wait until whatever point the city vacates the water building and is able to move into the Pepsi building, it's going to put us in a position where we would be doing nothing, and then hurry up to try to raise money. So what I have passed out to you all is at our last board meeting, we decided that we would do a formal proposal to the city requesting a long-term lease on the property at 151 Park Street. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here so that it goes officially on the record in addition to the handouts that you have. The Chiillicothe Ross Military Tribute Museum is a 501c3 developed for the express purposes of creating a military museum at 151 Park Street, adjacent to the Veterans Memorial Park. This property is currently housing the Chiillicothe Water Distribution Department. Upon completion of the renovations to the warehouse at 400 East 7th Street, this department is scheduled to move to the 7th Street location. When the water department moves to their new location, the Chiillicothe Ross Military Tribute Museum would like to take possession of the building in a long-term lease of either 49 or 99 years at the cost of $1 per year and begin renovation of the existing structure. That is basically what the pump house did when they were given the property. This property is adjacent to the Veterans Memorial Park. The Chiillicothe Ross Military Tribute Museum will provide veterans and their families, as well as visitors to the Ross County area, a forum to honor and celebrate the significant role our military has had in our community and on the world stage. Due to its proximity to the park, we envision interactive displays tied to events memorialized in the park. Because of the museum's location, we also see it as an educational tool to be utilized by the schools in Ross County. Additionally, one of the most common complaints from people going to the park is the lack of available parking. The museum would solve this issue. To date, our board has identified 33 grants at the local, state, and national level that the Chiillicothe Ross Military Tribute Museum qualified to receive. Until we have officially received approval for the property from the city, we cannot begin the application process. By securing, I've got in here the property, but the approval now, Our intent is to have funds in place to begin restoring and renovating the existing structures when the city vacates the property. Based on the above, the board is formally requesting the city to grant approval of a long-term lease at the rate of $1 per year to the Chiillicothe Ross Military Tribute Museum to be located at 151 Park Street, Chiillicothe. I don't know what the process is for you to have a discussion on this. I don't know if it goes to committee. I don't know if we have to wait until whatever time the property is vacated, but we have started to develop a momentum at this point of interest and support within the community and within the veterans organizations, and we would like to build on that now as opposed to waiting until the end of this year to find out that, yes, we've got the property, no, we don't have the property, which I know you guys would never do, and proceed from there. So that's it for me. Can you tell me what the process is? I mean, does it go to committee? Does it go to, where does it go, our request?
Well, what's going to happen is I'm going to have a conversation both with the mayor's office and the law director's office, and we will get back to you and let you know exactly what the process is and make sure we follow that. But I will make a commitment to you from my perspective as the president. We will move as quickly as possible to get you that information so that you at least know where you are, and then we'll weigh in as appropriate. But obviously, this is an important thing, and we want to see where we are and find out what the answers are to what the process is and how quickly we can make a decision, whatever that decision might be.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Ader. I'm a county resident. I'm not a city resident. I live out on 772 in Scioto Township. I'm here also for the Military Museum. My goal is to give you the veterans' perspective. I served for 27 years, 8 of them active, 19 reserves. I was called back to active duty in support of Desert Shield Storm, and then for 3 years right after 9/11. The one thing that I can always say is this community supported me immensely. The amount was incredible. I think the Military Museum is important, not only to recognize those that have served, but as a signal to those that are going to serve that we support you, and we're going to continue. So anyway, I'm here to throw in my support. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. President, members of council, my name is Jan Corzine, 100 Gaples Orchard Drive, Chiillicothe, Ohio, and I'm also here tonight on behalf of the Chiillicothe Ross Military Tribute Museum, as I am a board member of that organization. We think that this museum has the potential to increase tourism in Ross County and interest in our military history. I think most of you know that we have a really rich military history in this county, stretching all the way back to the Revolutionary War, although I don't know if we'll be able to get any items from that period of time. But when you look at our participation in the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, you can see there's a lot there. We think this will help increase the number of folks who are visiting our Veterans Park on the Parkway, because we think we can tie that in so that it would be natural for someone to come visit this museum and then go back and go through our Veterans Park to see the memorials there. Given the fact that we are now a World Heritage Site, which hopefully will bring in a good deal more tourism to this county, we think that this is part and parcel of that effort. We also think that it will perhaps open up Park Street a little bit and go some way toward making those properties along that street more desirable, increase value. we have talked to various groups. I know we've talked to the mayor. The mayor was very polite. He was non-committal. Obviously, it takes a lot of folks to make a decision like this. We've also spoken, and I'm a member of the Veterans Council, although I'm not a veteran, but my wife and I lost a son who was an Army veteran to suicide. So we have, and the feedback we've gotten is substantial. We've already received a substantial contribution from one of our veterans clubs, and it is going to be an interesting project. It will be drawn out a little bit because we think we're going to end up spending between $1 million and $1.5 million on this project. We think that's a reasonable ballpark figure to do this. So, but first things first, we don't have the property, you all do. So you will have to go through the processes outlined by Mr. Shoemaker, and we will anxiously await your decision on that. But we would love to have the property, or at least a long-term lease on the property, so that we can go ahead and get our project going. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks again.
Thank you. I seldom say no to two judges that get up and talk to me, so just I can't speak for the council, but I will say that. Any other public participation?
Hello, friends. My name is the Reverend Terry Williams. I reside at 47.5 East Main Street here in the city of Chiillicothe. I came with two things, but now I have three things. I'm a little concerned given the passage of your minutes. As many of you know, I try to stay abreast of what's going on at council, and I read over your minutes and was a little confused because the item that's on the agenda for tonight at second reading was actually listed under the reading and passage of legislation as having been read a second time. And when I went back through and read the whole minutes, there was a motion to not read that item. So I was a little confused and kind of hoping that someone on council would note that or make an amendment or, change the minutes to where they made some sense. And I'm a little concerned that there were 7 council members that all just voted to pass a set of minutes that have a clear and glaring error. So first off, I'm interested to know what reading is that item supposed to be at tonight. I'm presuming it's the second reading. It's at the second reading. So I'm a little concerned also then at that item because that item is supposed to be a rezoning public hearing piece. It has a public hearing that supposedly happened on the 16th, but the concern with that is there was never proper notice issued in the newspaper for that item. Specifically in the codified ordinances in 11-1707 of the codified ordinances of the city, we hear this. Before the proposed zoning amendment may be passed, the city council shall hold a public hearing and shall give at least 30 days notice of the time and place thereof in a newspaper of general circulation in the city. It then goes on to indicate that there are other notice requirements. People who live within a certain distance of the property have to receive letters and things. I do have a public record request into the clerk. She has been very cooperative, but unfortunately, circumstances have prevented getting that information to me. But the information I have been provided with shows that there was no notice provided for that hearing. So you have before you tonight an item that the committee wants to pass, but it did not have a sufficient hearing, and that is a big concern for me. It's a small matter, but it's very important that the rights of the public are protected when the government takes action. And you are the government, and our rights as the public really should be respected in that regard. I'd ask you to go back and take a look, make sure that you have a public hearing that's announced 30 days in advance in the newspaper as the code requires. The other issue that has come to light, in addition to this item, I placed requests before the clerk as well, and she is still working on that request, but the resolution 4123 that deals with the downtown outdoor refreshment area that was passed on December 18th was also insufficiently noticed in the public hearing. The public hearing required for that legislation under Section 4301.82 of the Ohio Revised Code was not requested by the committee chair until November 30th, 2023. That item was then passed, of course, in December, but that particular piece of the revised code requires that, and I quote, not earlier than 30, but not later than 60 days after the initial publication of notice, the legislative authority shall approve or disapprove the application by either ordinance or resolution as applicable. Now, there's a concern because the notice was actually not in the public notice section of the paper. It was written up as an article, which, according to ORC, you are supposed to pay the newspaper to place upon the pages of the public notice section those public notices. But regardless of whether it was in the public notice section or the regular section of the newspaper, having that notice November 30th for an item that then gets passed less than 30 days in advance calls that legislation into question. I'd really appreciate it if somebody could get back to me. I've posed this question, of course, through the clerk, who indicated she would be communicating with the law director. I, of course, cannot ask the law director for an opinion. That would be inappropriate. But I'm interested to know tonight what you're going to be able to do to rectify those errors in the way that you're giving notice, and particularly to pay a little more attention to the way that you go about doing business. I'd be interested in any responses you have at some other time, because I know this is a lot of information to digest tonight. So I'll just wait for you to communicate. Thanks.
Is there any other public participation at this time?
John Thacker, 990 Columbus Street, apartment 307, Chiillicothe. I'm going to embarrass somebody on this side, not Dr. Phillips tonight, but Judge Corzine, who I know as Dan Corzine, and a person who is so involved with the community, as all you know. Personally, I see him often at when I give blood at the American Red Cross, and I know that he also is involved with the Good Samaritan Food Pantry on Woodbridge. I imagine that's just the start of a list, not many of which I would not be. You know, I feel thrilled to see him in a different setting, though. So I apologize if I'm embarrassing Judge Corzine, but I think that it would be remiss of me not to at least mention how great it is to see you. Thank you.
Is there any other public participation at this time? Thank you all. Hearing none, we would now move to old business, and there is one piece of old business. Pursuant to a request from two of the council members, I did adjust a committee assignment or two committee assignments. The new assignments are there at the table so that you can see what those are, and also an explanation of the general categories that are covered by each of the committees. So the only change really was that Mr. Creed will now be on the Finance Committee, and Ms. Payne will now be on the Development Committee. That's the only switch that took place from the original appointment. So that has already taken place now, and you can get a copy of that there at the lectern. I would be remiss if I didn't go back on the agenda and ask the law director if there's anything to report.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. No, we do not have a report for this evening.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I would like to, in light of what Mr. Williams had brought up about the numbering issue for the item on tonight's agenda in the minutes, I would like to make a motion to correct the minutes to list that as first read rather than second read.
There's been a motion by Mr. Prohl and a second by Dr. Henderson to change the minutes, to correct them. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Bennett,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to any correspondence.
Thank President Shoemaker, I've not received anything.
Thank you. Under new business, there are a couple of items that I would like to raise. Also at the podium out there, as well as what's been distributed to each of the council people, are the nominations for appointments to some boards and commissions from the mayor. Most of those are reappointments, but in order to give you an opportunity to review those, I think we would look at those at the next council meeting. I want you to have an opportunity to know that the mayor's made those requests, and those require approval by the council.
Mr. President, I have another item. I would like to make a motion for item number 1 to be not read, so it stays at a second reading until we determine whether or not we need to hold a separate public hearing for it to correct the timeline. And that way it gives people sufficient time to, if there was a problem in the future, they would have sufficient time to voice their complaint. Thank you.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Dr. Henderson. Any discussion? Clerk can call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The motion is agreed to. The second item on under new business is Rule 11C of the Rules of Council authorizes the President of Council to call a review session to allow council to meet in a quasi-committee of the whole to discuss general issues. I would like to schedule such a meeting. We've got some members of council that have are more seasoned than some of the newer folks, including myself. But we'd like to go through a lot of different issues to make sure that in terms of providing information to the public, that we're doing it in the right way, and we're making sure everything that's provided that's necessary, and that we're following all rules and regulations. Also, to raise some procedural issues and administrative issues. One of the things that I've spoken to the mayor about is the possibility of having council meetings perhaps in different areas around the county to help other people participate. We recognize there'll be streaming issues that would have to be addressed if we were to do that, but we've had some discussions and I want council's input on that, and so that's why I'm raising that with you folks. So in the next week or so, if you could get back to me with some idea of when you would like to do that. My suggestion was possibly having a session at 6 o'clock next Monday, but we would obviously want to publicize that and allow the public to be here to listen and participate in that so that we get complete input from everyone. So if you could get back to me, though, and let me know what your thoughts are about timing and what would work for the council members, and let me know what your pleasure is on that particular item, I would greatly appreciate it. The final item of new business, which will come up in the next couple of weeks, the Daughters of the American Revolution here in Ross County are working with the America 250 celebration for the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, which would be July 4, 2026. Now, I can do the math, so there's nothing that guarantees that any of us will be on council on July 4th, 2026. However, we need to start the planning now and do everything necessary to be ready for a celebration and to work with the state organizations. And I've been going to the meetings, and we'll likely be talking to some of the members of council about you folks working with them to talk through the issues relative to what kind of a celebration we can have here in Ross County. There's grant money to be obtained, and they are looking to do that, but they need some support from the city. And I know the mayor's office has had folks participating in those conversations. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to let me know. But I wanted to bring that up too, to just let everybody know that that's on the radar. At this point, there's no ordinances to be brought before the council at this particular meeting because of the motion that was passed earlier in this meeting. So at this point, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Ms. Bennett, second. Mr. Barnes, clerk can call the roll.
Bennett. Yes. Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.